And so let's, even if even on the bad days, and there were lots of times when you don't feel good, or the crowd's not real responsive or whatever, you just keep it up, keep going, and keep chugging along, and keep having fun, keep portraying fun, and pretty soon the audience will be into it. He could turn a cold audience really, really hot and turn them on better than anybody I ever saw.
And there were some pretty bad days in 1974 after Don Rich was killed in a motorcycle accident.
Right. That was we had just been in the recording studio, and Don and a bunch of us. I had a motorcycle. Jim Shaw, the piano player, and Don, and the drummer Jerry Wiggins. We all had motorcycles, and my dad always, he hated them because he knew that you fall down and you're going to get hurt, and so we were all pretty careful. Don was really probably one of the best motorcycle drivers of the bunch of us. We rode our bikes anytime we'd go to Reno, or from Bakersfield was only 400 miles, so we'd ride the bikes, and then we would have our bikes there the whole time. And it was just a lot of fun, and but we had been in the recording studios during the summer, and right after the session that we were the recording session, I was going to be taking my family and going down to San Diego, and so I got in the car and took off. And Don, the next day, was going to be driving over to the coast to see his family, and taking his bike. And that's when I'd been gone, and then the next day, it happened the next day. He was on his way to the coast, and somewhere between Bakersfield and San Luis Obispo, he hit a median on the bike, and he died instantly. And that was a very dark time for my dad. He'd lost his best friend he'd ever had in his life, and his recording career was starting to slow down a little bit. And it's hard to keep it up for as long as he did, but it was starting to slow down a little bit, and so it became a time where I think my dad went into to save depression. He didn't want to do much. We used to play golf and tennis. Do something every day. He and I and my brother, and he just didn't want to do anything but stay out at his ranch and sit around. And so we went through that, and that's about the time he started. For whatever reason, he grew a beard and started wearing a hat, and let his hair grow longer, and then he went on hee-haw, and he did a couple, 2 or 3 years like that, and then I think as time wore on, time heals all wounds. That's what they say, and so he eventually pulled his way out of it, and then then he kind of just got out of music after he decided hee-haw was, he'd had enough of hee-haw after about 17 years of it. He decided to give it up in the mid-'80s. I think it was about 85 or 86. And, he other than hee-haw, he wasn't doing much. He wasn't traveling. He wasn't traveling a lot. He finally ended up hiring a guy that could play guitar a lot like Don, and play steel guitar at the same time. And so the guys traveled around a little bit. He would work, the big dates, but didn't really have much drive to write anymore. And a lot of the stuff he was recording would be somewhat depressing at times. He recorded the Simon and Garfunkel classic Bridge Over Troubled Water, and several songs like that, and I could tell he was hurting, but as I look back, maybe that was part of the healing process. And So I spent a couple of years after that, and just kind of shied away from music. Didn't pick up a guitar. Didn't write a song. Didn't sing a song. Didn't do anything. And we were just we got back into playing golf and tennis and that kind of stuff, and just living life out. And it was not long after that that Dwight Yoakam called him up one day at his office and said, "I wanted to meet you," and that kind of got him back into it.
And well, actually, it wasn't too long, a few years after Don's death, that you actually retired, or sort of semi-retired, from the music business for a long time. And so I'm wondering, just at the point where you were starting to have, you had what 20 charting singles on the Billboard charts,
right?
And then you virtually retired from the music business. So I'm wondering if you could please tell us why.
Yeah, it was. Well, I'll tell you the main reason. I got divorced in 1977 or 76, and it was a kind of an ugly divorce, to be honest with you. And I had 3 young kids that were 4, 6, and 8 when I got divorced, and my career was my dad was not very excited about it. Wasn't working as much, and so with him not working as much, that meant that the other people on his show had to, including his band, had to try to find other sources for income, and that made it kind of tough. And so I kind of got back into radio about that time, and then after I got divorced, my ex-wife, who had fought for custody because she had a few addiction problems, and so she had kind of decided that she wanted the kids, and I think it was more just something to hurt me, if nothing else. And so I really worried about it, and it wasn't long after the divorce was finalized. My attorney, who was a good friend of my dad's and mine, he said, "You know what? Just walk away from this and tell her to keep the kids and pay her child support, and it won't be long that he'll call you, and she'll call you, and say that she doesn't want the kids anymore." And I didn't believe him at first, and then I said, "Well, I've got to trust somebody here," and so I decided to move to Arizona and get away from her, and so I came back to Arizona in '78. And about a month after the divorce was final, my attorney called me and said that her attorney had called and said that she couldn't handle the kids anymore, didn't want them, and for me to go get them. And so they drew up all the papers, and I borrowed my brother's pickup from over here, and went over and picked up all their belongings. And you would have thought we were the Beverly Hillbillies coming back to Phoenix, man. That thing was so loaded down, but. Anyway, they were quite young. They were 4, 6, and 8, like I said, and I decided, with everything that was considered, I didn't know, if I'm by myself, I felt like I can go hungry from time to time, or live in an apartment from time to time. But I decided I've got to make a decision here. I can either try to be an entertainer and make the best of that, or I can try to be a father and do the best job I could, and so I chose the latter, and so for about 15 years I was single and raised those kids, and they actually helped me raise myself because I was still pretty young.